First of all, I am Maria from Movement Mortgage. Alex Rivera works on the Morristown office with me, but Basking Ridge is because some of them are for both offices. So we have Basking Ridge and Morristown on here. So I'm one of the lenders in both offices. That's why we're doing these dual classes, because I guess they kind of join forces for the Zoom classes. First of all, I want to start off by saying thanks for coming. And the second thing I want to ask is I want to start with Q&A. You can ask questions as I go through, but I wanted to know, as new agents, what are you experiencing as far as questions and stuff, and what can I answer off the bat before I start my list of what you need to know? Just unmute yourself and ask if you have any questions. Nothing?
Are you speaking just regarding mortgages or?
Yeah, or like, regarding mortgages or anything else I can help you with. I mean, I can't help you with real estate agent stuff, but with mortgages, like, what are you asking your buyers? How do you know they're qualified? Like how are you approaching the, pre-approval thing? Aaron, have you taken anybody out?
No, not yet.
Okay. So let's just start off with my tips. Hold on a second.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
I would love to know if you have, like an easy resource to access and to pass on that gives us a general idea of daily rates and things like that. Because sometimes it's a little motivating for people if they hear, the rates are still good, you haven't missed the boat here. Here's an example. If there's a really good resource to access.
Well, I can't let you have access to my platform. That's illegal. As far as, we don't have a platform that people can go on. Nobody does. Nobody has a platform that they can go on and check rates. So what you can always keep a look at the market, obviously on the news and stuff like that. But as far as being in tap with my system, that's not allowed, unfortunately, Aaron. But, rates are starting to climb up a little bit. But the bottom line is this, if they're looking to buy, the rates are still in the low threes. So it's still a great time to buy. I know that's motivating for them and everything like that, but if they're looking for a property, it doesn't matter, what rates are going to be, I mean, like they're just not going to, if they have to move, they're not going to say, well, I'm not moving now because of the rates. The rates are still very low. I mean, years ago, when I first started mortgage, they were low and then they went up into the fives. Mine's 5.25. So it really is a good time to buy. So I would probably, if that's something you want to use to get them moving, maybe just look at the current market, or you could call me or text me, which I'm going to give you guys my number right now. You could always say, hey, Maria, how are the rates looking? Now, you have to understand with rates, this is not rates for everybody. I mean, Google and everybody, they do all kinds of stuff telling you, people constantly say to me, oh, the rates are this. I go, the rates, you cannot get an accurate rate for anyone unless they do an application. Everybody's credit scores are different. The type of property, their debt to income ratio, there's many factors that go into a rate. So I personally don't think it's a good idea to push the rate thing, because even if you say, oh, rates are in the low threes, they might have a 600 credit score. They're not going to be in the threes. You know what I mean? So,
hey, Maria,
yes, go ahead.
let me just say, before I discuss rate with them, what I normally do is we have a good frank talk about their qualifications.
Okay.
Are they working?
Very good.
Do they know what kind of home they're looking for? Do they know where they want to live? Do they know why they want to buy a home? So just to kind of open the discussion with those questions first. A lot of people don't, how are you spending? What's been your spending habits for the past 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, 6 months? Are you willing to stop spending the way you're spending? Can you afford not to use your within the next year, 6 months, 3 months, because it's going to affect how you find a home? So I always start with the financial habits, because those things make them either qualify or not qualify for a loan. So we always start the discussion. If they want to get into the rates, I am not the person who's qualified to discuss a rate with you. However, I can point you to somebody who could explain the rates and so on and so forth. I can tell you about a house. I can tell you where to find a house, but I can't tell you how to gauge what the market is doing as far as rate is concerned. I want to know how your spending habits are and why you want to move, where you want to move, what kind of house are you looking for? Those things I can discuss with you.
Right. And you know what? You don't even have to go that deep, because once you start talking, like, you to me, a basic conversation is like, oh, casually, what do you do for a living? Because that's that's a huge one. Because if they're self-employed, which I'll get to, it's huge that they reach out to me or someone. I don't know if anybody does what we do, because we do free assessment of tax returns up front before we even pull their credit. So that's something I want to discuss with you, but you got to be careful of how much you dig, because, I like your questions, but sometimes they feel like, they are giving too much information to you about their finances. I think some of those questions are great. Why do you want to buy? What area? All that fun stuff. But when it comes to actually starting to ask about finances, I would definitely leave that up to me, because they start feeling a certain way. If that's been working for you, that's fine. And what is going on with your eyes? I can't hear you.
I'm on set today.
Oh my gosh. How cool are you? Very cool. I was like, what's wrong with her? Is she crying or she got bad mascara on?
Sorry,
That's
I'm
great.
late.
No worries. Okay. So yes, I would be careful of how much you ask. Now, these are the things we're going to talk about today. So start writing things down, because there's a lot of confusion out there of buyers and they don't understand. So the first one I want to talk about is down payment. Does any of you guys know what the minimal down payment is on a conventional loan for a first-time home buyer?
5%?
Nope. Anybody else? Okay. It's not uncommon that you guys don't know, because a lot of people don't know. Conventional loans allow 3%. 3% for a first-time home buyer. There's two programs. I'm trying to shut my phone off. I just got a new iPhone and I don't know how to use it. Hold on. Okay. So two first-time home buyer programs. One is called Home Ready. That is for income-based, meaning I have to check the geographical map for the program. If they make too much money, they have to go into the Fannie Mae 3% down. It's always good to do the first-time home buyer, obviously, because the other one is a little bit higher rate. So the first question if you want to ask or know is, and you have to be careful, I think, when you ask these questions, is how much down payment do they have? The reason you have to ask this is because down payment and closing costs are two different things, and people don't know that. So you guys as agents need to know that there's two separate things here. Down payment, which is a minimum of 3%. So if they're looking at a $200,000 home, you could say, okay, so minimum down payment is 3%, that's $6,000, and then you have closing costs. So, usually you can double that. So are you ready? Are you ready to buy? Do you have like 12, 15,000? A lot of buyers just think a down payment's going to do it, and it's not. So know to ask them and educate them that, okay, there's down payment and then there's closing costs. So please be aware of that. And of course, you guys know closing costs, title, attorney, appraisal, all that little fun stuff. So that's important to talk to them about right off the bat, because I've had many buyers tell my agents they're ready and then they just have down payment money. And again, you're going to have to approach this very, very lightly. You don't want to discourage them. I talk to my buyers and basically say, listen, you're not ready yet, but this is how we're going to get you ready. So I don't want you to scare them off by saying, well, you're not ready yet. Just get that information, write it down. You can give it to me, but I always want to talk to them because I still might be able to help them out. They might be able to get a gift, but you don't want to go too deep into that. Okay. So what you really need to know is let them know that, there's down payment and there's closing costs, and 3% is the minimal. And then FHA is 3.5%, 3.5. Very important. FHA is not first-time home buyer. It's just an FHA loan. Everybody thinks FHA is the first-time home buyer program. It's not. Many people come to me at FHA and I switch them over to conventional. So if people ask you guys, what's the down payment for the first-time home buyer? It's 3% conventional. And then FHA is 3.5%. Very good for you guys to know that. Makes you sound knowledgeable, okay? I don't want to get into the finances too much because when I talk to them, of course, I want to make sure they have money left. when they're buying this house. So I will talk to them about that. Getting pre-approved. You guys have to, like here, you know, like that's what Colin said. Ask them where you're looking to buy, because that's going to, you know, taxes play a huge role. What are they hoping to get pre-approved for? Are they looking for a single family or a multi? These are important questions because of course you need to get an idea, but if they're looking at a multi, they can also use rental income to qualify. Great tip for you guys to know. If someone says they're looking for a multi-unit, say, oh, well, do you know that you can actually use the other unit? So if it's a 2-unit, they have to live in one. They can use rental income to qualify for the second, and the same thing for 3 and 4 units. So that's a great tip. Good news to give them if they say they're looking for a family. Oh, I don't make a lot of money, but I want a 2-unit. Well, do you know that you can use rental income to help you qualify? You need to talk to my lender, Maria. Okay, so you always want to be positive. So that's very important to know that you can use, it has to be their primary. They have to live there. Unless it's an investment, that's a whole different ballgame. I'm talking about primary residences. Okay. Did you guys know that you can use rental income on a multi-unit?
Yes, absolutely.
Did anybody not know? I want to make sure people are learning things today.
I didn't know that.
Good. And then we talked about how much they can afford. Hi, is it Patricio?
Yes, it
Patricio?
is. Hi. I'm really late. I'm really sorry.
No, that's okay. I just pretty much started telling them about, you know, you should let your buyer know there's a difference between down payment and closing costs, okay? It's 2 separate things. So when you're asking them about their funds and stuff, don't get too into it, but just let them know the minimal down payment for conventional is 3%, FHA is 3.5%. Okay, that's really important for you guys to know. Many realtors do not, they start talking to their buyers and they're like, oh, they don't have 20%. No one needs 20% to buy a house, ever. And realtors, some people still think, buyers still think, oh, I can't buy because I don't have 20%. That is a complete false statement. 3%. If they have the money in down payment, they can get into a home. All right, credit. Again, be careful how you talk. You can ask them, you know, how your credit is these days. I would be very careful. This is something you would be like, well, you know, you might want to talk to my lender because credit scores play a big role in your, you know, in your pre-approval and program. So I wouldn't go too deep into that, but, you know, you might want to mention, or you can ask them. I don't know what the rules of real estate is. I do tell my agents, be careful how much you ask about their finances. But if you're feeling really comfortable and they're telling you a lot of information, then, you know, say, oh, you know, how's your credit scores? If they say, oh, it's in the 400s, we got a problem. The lowest credit score for FHA is 580, and the lowest credit score for conventional is 620. Write that down, please. FHA, 580 is the lowest credit score, and conventional is 620. Anything under 580, we can't do. You'd have to go to like a hard money lender and stuff, and that's not fun. Okay. Again, I will talk to them about that. The also very important, like I said, you want to know the difference between mortgage programs. So what I would do, like I said, ask them what they're interested in. I'm telling you, you're going to get buyers that are going to say, oh yeah, I want to go FHA. Well, why do you want to go FHA? Oh, because my credit, or, you know, I don't have 20% down. And that's where you come in. Well, you don't need 20% down. You can go conventional with 3%. That is very, very powerful for you guys to know. Okay. And then of course they'll come to me for details. But you'd be surprised how many agents in the business 20 years don't know there's a 3% down program. It's pretty interesting. You can ask them to look into, you know, just ask them, are they looking into any buyer assistance programs? Some of these people find, you know, there's government assistance sometimes. I will warn you that it takes a very long time. And unfortunately, it takes sometimes 60 to 90 days for a buyer government down payment assistance. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but unfortunately, I have not been able to do one yet because, especially with COVID, they were not, you know, getting back to us. So that's a nice question for you to ask. Are you going to be using any buyer, you know, down payment assistance with this? Great question to ask, because that's going to let you give you a clue in of, you know, do they have the funds? But again, be careful. Of course, you're going to have to let them know. Now, you guys can do what you want, but I always advise new agents, If you want to take someone out without a pre-approval the first time, great. But I do not recommend taking anyone out more than once, because the bottom line is this: if they're not pre-approved, then you could be wasting your time and their time. And I'm talking pre-approved, not pre-qualified. There's a difference. Pre-qualified is a letter saying, you're pre-approved, but in the fine print, it says, this is not an approval. It's subject to verification of, looking at documents. My pre-approval with movement says that the loan officer, Maria, has reviewed all income and assets, and it's a very solid pre-approval. I do not do pre-qualifications. To me, they're just a waste of time. All it is someone filling out an application, and anybody can put anything they want in there. The only thing you can't trick the system is credit scores. So anybody could get a pre-qualification if they have decent credit. So very important. I even have agents sometimes reach out to me and say, hey, and send me the letter. What do you think of this letter, Maria? And I'll educate them. Well, you better be careful because it says this. And now with our upfront underwriting, which many people don't do, a lot of these lenders are claiming they're doing the upfront underwriting. So you got to be really careful with your letters, because it's going to say, I found one that said, documents have been collected for the underwriter to review. That don't mean anything. That means you got them, but underwriter's probably not going to review them until later in the process. We do upfront underwriting. I'm going to fully pre-approve your buyer. And then when we go under contract, we go straight to underwriting, and they get approved by a licensed underwriter. And as agents, I actually tell my buyer's agents, when you are making an offer, to copy me on the loan, on the email to the seller. And I then vouch and talk about how much you are qualified, the buyer, and our process. And it gets me a lot of loans, and it gets me a lot of contracts. It really does help fight for my buyers, and the lenders, the seller's agents love it. They just, unfortunately, not many people do it, but this is how I'm beating the bidding war. Even with FHA, I'm like, I will let them know they're only going FHA because they needed a higher price point, because FHA allows a higher debt to income. So if you're ever working with me and I got a pre-approval for you and you put an offer in, I'm going to remind you to copy me on the offer so I can vouch for the buyer and talk about our quick process, which hopefully will end in a contract for us. Okay, so pre-approval letter. I wanted to ask a question. How are you all marketing yourself? How are you letting people know out there that you're an agent? Anybody want to chime in? Somebody's got to be marketing themselves. Someone's got to, how are you letting them know that you're an agent?
I'll chime in. Social
Hi,
media.
Giselle.
Hi. Social media, direct mail, phone calls. There you go. Email.
Anybody else? Because it's very, very important.
I'm doing
Tell
a
everybody.
lot of word of mouth right now. I'm meeting at churches after church to meet with folks. There's some large employment groups that I'm familiar with, and I have social gatherings with them, maybe in a restaurant or a bar sometimes, just to
Beautiful.
let them know that I'm an agent and I'm in the community,
Good.
and I'm looking for people in my community to purchase houses and so on and so forth. I'm also dropping off mail at apartment buildings to let them know it's time to buy. Even though you think you're not qualified, you might be qualified. So
Right.
it's time to
Very
do your
good.
research.
Of course, social media is huge. I tell new agents all the time, like, call every family member. And, nobody does anything personal anymore. Call, write a little handwritten note, to all your neighbors and put them in their mailboxes or whatever, and just let them know that you are new. One thing I do tell them is, Keller Williams Metropolitan, and both of those offices are very well known and very high up in sales. Their credentials are amazing. So use that to make you look better. That, I think, I don't know what number they are, but I know both offices are up there as far as top offices in Jersey. So you might want to use that to help you, be a more powerful agent. Okay. So the next step is inspections. A lot of buyers do not know that besides the down payment and closing costs, there is a separate cost, which is the inspection. It has nothing to do with the mortgage. It is not required, but of course, highly advised. Okay, so if your buyer's asking questions about fees, you want to just break it down. There's down payment and there's closing costs. But on top of the closing costs, there is inspection. After you go under contract, you, the realtor, will get them an inspector to inspect their home to make sure that it's safe. I do not need that inspection report, but of course, if there's anything wrong, going to delay the closing or seller's credit or something, I need to know. But it's really important you guys let them know, because buyers don't like to be surprised. I give the same speech to them every time. I go down all costs because most of my costs are third party: appraisal, attorney, title. These are all third party. They're not my fees. And we all have to charge them because that's what you have to charge to get into a house. So please make sure you educate them on the home inspection, that this is a separate fee, non-refundable. And if you go under contract, so if you have a new contract, you're going to want to have a conversation with that agent, that buyer, and say, okay, this is the next step. I find a lot of agents do not educate their buyers, and they're lost, and they're asking me where we're at. And I truly believe it should be a team. The agent should be taking care of the agent side, which is letting them know the inspection's next, letting them know when their deposits are due. Okay, keeping on top of that. And I'm in charge of the mortgage end. So please make sure they know that there's an inspection extra cost that is not included with the mortgage, okay?
And Marie, I find that also discussing something as simple as switching over electric, their electric and gas system. They should set aside.
Actually, we have a really cool program at
That
Movement,
will charge.
and it's a reminder. I forget what it's called. Totally blank on what it's called, but it's basically, it's called the Updater. All my buyers under contract will get reminders. It's so cool. It tells them to update all their, utility bills, and it just reminds them to do it before closing, which is kind of cool, but great. Another great thing to talk about if you go under contract is, okay, you're closing at this time, and, we got to get out of attorney review. You want to explain the attorney review process. Does anybody know that process and how long it's supposed to take? What are you telling your buyers about attorney review? Anyone?
About 3 days, roughly.
Right. You want to get out of attorney review as soon as you can, because someone can come in and steal with another offer, which I've had happen many times. So get under contract, you tell your buyer, okay, we're going into attorney review. And once attorney review is over, we're going to have a time frame to get inspections, which is going to be out of your pocket. And then you go from there. And then I kind of take it from there when it comes to everything else. So please remember to mention those items. Now, this is just extra stuff. You don't have to tell them, but it's all good knowledge for you guys. Homeowners insurance. A lot of buyers do not know that they have to pay 1 year up front. This is required by law. It's included when I give them the estimate. They have to be insured 1 year. They have to pay fully 1 year, and then they get escrowed for the following year. So that's really important for you guys to know. And if they ask, or if you want to give information, the more power, the more information you give them, the more they're going to feel confident with you as an agent, in my opinion. They love
Also-
knowledge. My buyers love when I give them knowledge.
Also, Marie, if they have a car insurance now, it's good to kind of look into the car insurance to see if that insurance company also do home insurance. And they'll probably
yes.
get their car insurance lower for those things. So they appreciate stuff like that.
Yes, and that's one thing I talk to them about. Usually lenders don't, but I love saving my customers money. So I'm always telling them, listen, I'll refer a couple homeowners insurance companies, and then I tell them to call their current carrier, compare the quotes, apples to apples, but also do a bundle, because you can always save with home and auto. So I went through my main stuff. Does anybody have any questions or concerns that you have and not sure how to answer when buyers are asking? Nobody's got any questions? Nobody's ever asked you anything that you don't know what to answer? Okay, so a couple more things. Number one is sticking to your budget. You guys need to make sure when I give you a pre-approval letter, or anybody, that you need to either reach out to the loan officer or discuss with your buyer that pre-approval and what it means. That doesn't mean that they can't go higher. As Giselle knows, I always send her letters and tell her, this is the sales price and taxes I approved you on, but they do have room to go up. So sticking to the budget is important to have that conversation. So sometimes you might want to reach out to the loan officer on that pre-approval and say, hey, do they have room to go up? You definitely don't want to be showing houses above that pre-approval amount without talking to the lender. Okay, guys, that's really important because you get people excited. They fall in love with something and then they can't afford it. And that's not something you want to deal with. They don't like that.
This is
Okay.
very true. And you do follow your word on that. Constantly
Yes.
sending pre-approvals. With-
Yep, I sent a lot of pre-approvals. And when you're also looking, when it's time to make an offer, you're going to call me so I can crunch the numbers. You don't just, do not give a $500,000 pre-approval letter for a $400,000 offer. That's called showing your cards. That's going to let them know right away you can afford more and they're going to ask for more. You always want the pre-approval letter to match the offer. Always, always, always. That's where I come in. I'm going to crunch the numbers to make sure they can afford this house and they're still approved with their ratios. And then I'm going to get you a letter so you can make the offer. You're going to copy me on the email. And then I'm going to respond to that email. Giselle knows I constantly am replying to sellers, agents, letting them know that her buyer is well qualified. It doesn't work all the time, but I'll tell you, it works a lot. It depends on the buyer and the program. So definitely, please do not give a pre-approval letter for a higher amount than the offer, because you're just asking for them to come back at you and say, well, we want more. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
I'm trying to look at my
Maria.
other notes here. Yes?
How fast does a pre-approval take?
Okay, good question. So I'm pretty fast. It also depends on the person. So if you give me a lead, I always tell people to text me. I'm going to give you my number in a second and do a group text with the buyer if they allow it. Okay. I like to have the buyer's information because then I can reach out right away and then I'll follow up with them. A lot of times, if you just give them my number, they're going to go on Google, they're going to they're going to forget. But if you really want them to work with me and my process, you should really try to do a group text introducing them. I immediately respond. Giselle knows I am super fast at responding. I'm always available. That's just, I'm very, very big on getting back to my agents and buyers. My proof of, if a guy, I send that, I interview them first. I'm not going to make them run their credit if I know they're not ready. If they are ready, I send them an application link online and documents I need, which are usually W-2s, pay stubs, a license, and bank statements. If they are self-employed, I am going to ask for taxes and I'm going to get them analyzed for free by our accounting department, because sometimes people make $1 million gross, but then after expenses and they're like, netting 100,000. People write off a lot of stuff. So you have to be very careful with self-employment buyers. I don't care what they tell you they make. I'm telling you, send them to me and I'll get their tax returns analyzed, because I have seen so many people. I mean, I had this one guy, $450,000 gross, and literally after everything he wrote up, his net income was $45,000. And he was like shocked. He's like, I had no idea. I said, well, this is what we have to go by. It's the law. He was so appreciative that I did that for free that he actually came back to me a year later when he had, he got a different job and he did his other job on the side and bought with me because, he could have got a pre-approval, a pre-qualification, and got into a contract and it would have fallen apart to him. I don't let my deals fall apart. As Giselle knows, I am on top of my stuff. I am always about doing things up front, and I don't have deals fall apart unless someone does something crazy like spend all their closing cost money. But that doesn't happen usually.
Definitely vouch
so-
for Maria. I definitely vouch for her.
Thank you, Giselle. So to answer your question, I can do it in literally half an hour. If they get that done and get me the documents, or I'll tell them, listen, at least get out the link. Let me run your credit. Let me start it and then get me your documents. I will not give you guys a pre-approval letter if no one gives me documents. If they don't get me documents, then I just tell you, okay, guys, this is a pre-qualification. I don't like it. And to me, if someone doesn't want to give me paperwork, that's a red flag for me. It's very easy, the application online. And the beauty of us is we do not have expired pre-approvals. I've had buyers for sometimes a year or two. The only thing that we expire, like everyone, is the credit report in 4 months. But I tell my customers, don't worry, after 4 months, I'm not rerunning your credit. Do not open up any new accounts. Do not, co-sign for anyone while you're doing the mortgage process. That's a nice thing for you to let them know. Hey, just by the way, since we're shopping for homes, please make sure you don't open up any new credit or co-sign for anyone because it could affect your loan, your pre-approval. Very good thing to say to somebody. So the beauty of us is I have the application in there. So I just keep using that one to give the pre-approval letter. I've had sometimes 9 months to a year before someone got a house, and I never reran that credit. And then when they went under contract, that's when I reran the credit, because of course I have to have a valid credit report. A lot of lenders, after 30 days, make you do the whole application process again. Movement does not. I keep my applications. I can go into something a year ago. I can copy it if it's very similar. Like, let's say a buyer a year ago came to me and then comes to me and still has the same job and everything and same address and all that stuff. I literally can use his old one, or for any reason, things have changed drastically and he's adding a buyer or something, then he would have to do a new pre-approval. But my pre-approvals do not expire. All they need to do is be updated. Okay, so that's very important, because a lot of people come to me and they're being told that they have to redo their application over and over again. That is not the case with Movement. So good tip for them to know. Oh, by the way, my lender, you only have to fill out the application once, it doesn't expire. And then I take it from there as far as the explanation. But that's a great, and I can do it fast. I mean, I literally, if it's a rush, if you text me on a Saturday and say, I need this pre-approval, and the buyer gets me things quickly, I've got it done in 30 minutes and I'm handing you a letter via email. It's really the determining of it is the buyer. A lot of buyers want to move fast, but then they don't do anything. There's no way I can give you a pre-approval letter without the buyer doing the application. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's very important to know. Again, make sure you look at your pre-approval letters to see if it's a pre-qualification. If it is, you definitely want to start asking some questions or call that loan officer on that pre-approval and ask, if he's collected documentation. I'm telling you right now, if you use a pre-qualification where someone only filled out an application and never handed any documents to anyone, you are setting yourself up for failure. You absolutely should ask them, why didn't they collect any documentation, or call the loan officer and ask them. A lot of lenders do not do it because it takes a lot of time. But to me, it's the only way to go. It's a benefit to the buyer. It's a benefit to you, because why would you want to shop for something? I've had people pre-approved for one lady, $475,000. And when I looked at all her documents, I'm like, no, your max is $350,000. And she's like, what are you talking about? And her lender actually called me. And I said, you can't count overtime. He was counting her overtime on her paycheck year to date and dividing it. That's not how you count overtime. Overtime is counted by both W-2s, 2019 and 20. You add their overtime together and you divide it by 24 months. That is how overtime is determined. So a lot of these lenders are just not doing it right. So just be careful if you have a buyer that never gave any documentation. I highly advise you guys to either call the loan officer or find a lender like me that collects everything, and it's going to get you guys a solid pre-approval. Okay. I think that's it for now. I think that's a lot of information. I don't want to overwhelm you guys.
Mary, I have a quick question. Maybe you can solve this for me. I might have to switch this client over to you. She's in a position where does not want to do the COVID vaccination. So she was terminated from her job. She's in the medical field. And she's afraid that with the gap between now and finding another position, which she's in the process of doing and is very close to closing on another position,
Okay.
the term between that point and getting the other job is going to affect her. Will that affect her, and how much?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Do you know if it's a conventional or a FHA loan?
We're not, well, she's not in the process of doing the loan yet, so this is why
Okay.
I might switch this person over to you. But they're
Okay.
afraid that the gap in the income, even though it's short term, it might affect her overall.
Not at
Okay.
all. Not at all.
Okay.
So what we do is you can have a gap in conventional, you can be unemployed for several years, actually. So what we would do is when she does the application, I will tell her to put in her current when she finds her current, right? Because we obviously can't do the pre-approval until she's got an offer letter. I can actually do a pre-approval with an offer letter. I don't even need pay stubs. As long as I have a letter stating when she's going to start and what she's going to make, I could do the pre-approval. Then she'll have her prior job on the application. So tell her absolutely not. I'd be happy to talk to her and reassure her that she can definitely still get a pre-approval. As soon as she gets that job and gets that offer letter, she can reach out to me and I will help her get pre-approved properly.
Well, we're gonna do that. You gotta give us your number though.
Okay, ready? Here we go. 908 642 7962. Again, 908 642 7962. If you want to text me right now and say, hey, it's Dominique or Aaron from the class, I will then put you in my contacts and then we have each other's contacts. My email is maria.baxter, BAX as in X-ray, TER, @movement.com. I used to be in the offices a lot, but of course with COVID, nobody's there. So I email a lot. I try to be at everything that's live, sales rallies. So hopefully I'll meet some of you guys at sales rallies this month. Definitely try to go to those, you guys. Meet your fellow agents. It's a lot of fun. They always have food. And I would love to meet you in person. If you ever want to meet me for coffee or lunch, I would be happy to take you out, get to know you. And I'm all about the personal relationship and getting to know someone and you getting to know me. Giselle will vouch for me. I think I have a very good work ethic. I'm always available nights and weekends for my realtors and my buyers. And I'm very big on follow-up. I will tell you, you will never wonder what's going on with your transaction with me. Never. It's always going to be, texting lets you know. And on top of it, you're also going to know what's going on with your lead. If you give me a lead, I'm going to let you know. I don't do 20 touches like real estate agents. I do 3 strikes, you're out. If I reach to that buyer 3 times and they ignored me, I'm not going to chase after them. I'm not that aggressive salesperson. I just don't do it. But I will let you know, hey, I reached out, or hey, they're going to start their application. I'll keep you posted. Or hey, there's, they still have some stuff to do. I'm always going to tell you what's happening with your lead because I appreciate it. And if I gave you a buyer to look for a house, I would expect you to keep me posted because it's just common courtesy. So know that I will definitely be keeping you posted on anything, leads or transactions that you're in. Okay. And also when you're under contract, my system's really cool. You're going to get these really cool emails from our system saying, loan's been submitted to underwriting. Buyer's been approved by underwriting. Appraisal's in, appraisal's approved. You're going to know so much about your transaction. You're never going to wonder what is going on, which of course you want to know because, everybody wants to get paid, So any other questions before I lose my voice? Okay, I see Tom. I'm looking forward to doing business. Great. Okay, all right. Thank you. All right. I hope this was, I hope everybody learned something. Yes.
Yeah, this was great. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Don't forget to text me. I would love to have your numbers. If you say, we can meet at the office. Can bring us coffee or bagels. Would love to meet you in person. But if you go to the sales rally, come find me. I'm not always at sales rallies or any kind of special event. Anywhere I can be in person, I am. Okay, you guys?
Excellent. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
All right. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for coming. I look forward to meeting you guys and I look forward to working. And Ann, you look beautiful. Bye, everybody. Have a great
Wow.
day.
Have a great Halloween.
And I'll send the recording out like I always do. Oh my God, I'm leaving. You're scaring me. Bye.